Hey, everybody, welcome. As I say, welcome back to the table. If you've been with me before, if you're a regular, I appreciate your time and energy so much. I believe this is community, and your presence here is really, really, felt. And I never take that for granted. So, always happy to have you here. My members, especially members of the channel, thank you so very much for your support. I always look forward to our private Zoom meetings once a month to get together with you all live and chop it up. And also, if you are a member and you didn't know about this, on the playlists in the menu and on the channel, there are videos. Anything that I do specifically for members, there's a whole bunch of videos out there. Feel free. That is part of your bonus content, and I continue to add to it. If you're just landing here, I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. I'm really glad you're here. I hope you stick around and hit that like and subscribe button. All right. Couple of things Spirit led me to. Got my notes here. I always spend some time with Spirit and do some research before I start taping, and there's a few things that Spirit said to get into today for you all. Starting out with, now we understand regarding Trump's efforts with the so-called, the ballroom, right? So now he's gone and appealed to SCOTUS Supreme Court. To now the language is changing and the tone is changing to say, in order to get it to move forward, that now it's become a military complex. It is no longer just a ballroom where VIPs will be treated, etc. But now the entire structure, not just the underground portion. Because remember, for those of you who have been following this story and the court's decisions around stopping construction on the upper level or upper ground portion of it, but he's always had approval to continue the underground portion of it, which was more military in nature. Now the whole thing is supposed to be, the argument is it's all a military complex. Here's what I'm wondering. Spirit said, okay, so is he ultimately building his own prison? Because the time's going to come when it's time for him to exit one way or another. And is part of this his effort to essentially, build his compound where he thinks he will be protected at all costs, right? So Spirit said, all right, be careful what you ask for. Because essentially, is he building his own prison? Is it going to get to a point where either politically he's refusing to leave office, either because there are his health continues to deteriorate and they try to hide that, a la Mitch McConnell, which we'll go back there later. But Spirit, is this going to turn? Is this going to become first? Will he get approval based on now turning this into a military issue or a national security issue? Is SCOTUS going to give him the go ahead, override the court's decisions to stop building? Or will SCOTUS override that and give him permission based on national security threats? We have the Four of Pentacles. That's their consideration of it, SCOTUS's consideration of it, but it is stalled. I don't think that there will be a jump on it. Yeah, go ahead and start doing it right away today. Spirit, will SCOTUS approve based on now this new narrative? Three of Cups, I think so. And this also feels like the dissent from the three liberal justices on the court. There will be a dissent from them, but I think it's going to go through. One more card, Spirit. Is SCOTUS going to give him the go ahead based on now the claims of it being, oh, death? Hold on. Knight of Wands and Judgment. And the Eight of Wands. Two of Wands. All this fire. And the Six of Pentacles. I think Congress may punt this back I'm sorry, I think SCOTUS may punt some of this back to Congress, which is supposed to control the purse strings, right? So all of this fire, we got that Two of Wands, we got the Knight of Wands. Both of these are focused forward energies, right? With the Eight of Wands. So all of this is the Eight of Wands is his urgency, Trump's urgency, saying we got to get this thing going and complete it because the threat levels are rising with Iran, et cetera, et cetera. So he's saying let's hurry up and get this done. The pressure to hurry up and get this done because it depends on what's going to happen or it impacts directly what's in our future, right? The future threats to the country. But judgment and that six of Pentacles, the negotiations, the actual money and the funding to get it going with death. This feels like there's something there, and also death ruled by Scorpio. So timing wise, around November, around the midterms, I think SCOTUS is, and rather than a wholesale, sure, buddy, do whatever you want. I think SCOTUS is gonna come back around punting this in some way back to Congress. They're gonna hedge their bets. Ten of Swords, exactly, because SCOTUS knows they're in trouble. Thank you, Spirit, for that confirmation. SCOTUS knows they're in trouble. There's a whole lot of talk right now, to some extent, even on a bipartisan level, around reforming SCOTUS, whether that's term limits, etc. They see that coming, and I think they're looking beyond the Roberts court. The conservatives on that court are looking beyond Trump to try and protect their own butts. That's that Ten of Swords energy. So I'm not so sure, you all, that Trump is depending on SCOTUS to come through and give him a full throttled, yes, go ahead and, if this is a national security issue, do your thing, get the money however you need to get it. I think they're going to be aware of Congress's role in that because they also understand that Congress is going to come for them post Trump. All right. Now, that said, is the White House ultimately going to become a prison for him? Is he building his own prison? Because it will reach a point where he's going to refuse to leave. Clear every indication under the sun, right? We all see that. He's not going to go willingly. Will this become a prison of his own making, Spirit? Will it get to a point where he's going to be stashed away in there, try to get, his protection because he refuses to leave? Is this going to become a prison of his own making? Justice. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for, right? Ten of Wands. The pressure by of the military to protect him there. And the Queen of Swords. Three of Wands. And the Page of Swords. And the Fool. Ooh. I don't know. I wasn't expecting this, but I'm getting that when it gets to that point, Melania's out of there. To the extent that she's there anyway. But I think this is Melania getting the heck out of there with the Fool and the Three of Wands. She goes, okay, we got to get up out of here, and also trying to protect Baron. Is this right, Spirit? Is that what I'm seeing? He's going to wind up stuck in there. Military trying to, whoever, still feels like they've got to obey his orders. And so that's my next question. But first I want to get to, is this his family getting up out of there? The Devil. Bound, imprisonment. Bound and essentially, holed up in there. The family, Melania's gonna grab Baron and say, "We out. We're not doing this." Because when it gets to that point, it literally becomes a prison. Spirit, will the military fracture over this? Will he be taken out? When it gets to that point, will there be some break within the commandment, the military commanders, to go in there? High Priestess, Seven of Cups. How do we do it? And the Star. It's the people's house. But the High Priestess is mystery, right? It's keeping, don't put all your cards on the table. I think there will be, if there are not already, you all, there will be a plan put in place for how to remove him without it appearing that it's this wholesale, takeover of the military. Like there's this opposing force or force of reason, maybe former military commanders advising current military, saying, look, y'all, you all know this has gone way too far. And that's what that Seven of Cups is about. So I think ultimately he's gonna leave. He's gonna be taken out of there. I do think with the Star, it is the people's house. And this also could go back to, even though Congress doesn't have it's three separate branches of government. Congress can't override Trump, but Congress can influence what happens in the military. Is that what I'm seeing? A congressional Nine of Cups. Yes, that's what I'm seeing. You're going to, and the Ten of Coins. Absolutely. Once Congress changes, he's going to wind up, that's really when it becomes a prison, right? Of sorts, because he knows, especially if the Senate flips as well. Now he's really in hot water. And the impeachment situation, there's already, there's already some question marks about whether that would go forward. He's going to be scared and holed up in there. Whether or not it's completed by that time, probably won't be. I mean, we're talking a matter of months. They won't have it completed by then. But he's gonna be more and more trapped and entrenched and have guards around him. The Ten of Wands, the guards are like, look, how much are we supposed to take? High Priestess says there's going to be a secret operation essentially to assist these members of the military who are charged with guarding him to figure out a way to get him up out of there. And it may be that it's something that we're never told about or certainly not announced. We won't know about it till after the fact. We may not even, as I'm saying, that Spirit is saying, we may not even know that he's been removed until after the fact, but he's gonna have to go. All right. So the second thing I wanted to look at, I have been resisting this, you all, and I've gotten so many emails and people about the hangings that have happened, a number of them in Mississippi, and now over the weekend we had a big story breaking out of Raleigh, North Carolina. There was a Caribbean festival or something, and someone was found in near this downtown area in Raleigh. A body was found hanging behind a business there. So I always say don't read. As a reader, I try not to go to Spirit when I'm agitated about something. I always try to make sure I'm objective and and solid. And so this has been a really sensitive area, and I'm not ignoring it. Very, very aware of it. And impacted by it, just the visceral reaction to it. But here's what I want to look at. Many, as I said, I've gotten, dang, that didn't shuffle well. I've gotten some emails around what happens now. Is justice going to be served? Are we going to have legit investigations into what's really going on here? Are these extremist groups like, the modern day KKK? Or is this even potentially, law enforcement or other entities that are, if not doing it, then allowing it, sitting back and allowing it to be done? Spirit, ooh, what flipped? The Ten of Cups, the impact on people and families. Got to center my energy. Spirit, what is the outcome of these hangings that are being discovered? Will they be investigated? Will there be justice served? Queen of Cups, Ace of Cups, and the Seven of Cups. Ace of Swords. Perfect. I can stop there. There will be, but there will be investigations. The Seven of Cups is going to be, this feels like a concerted effort to address this. First it just seems like it was primarily Mississippi where we were hearing more of these stories happening, but now we're also knowing or seeing that it's spreading or has spread throughout the South. The Queen of Cups is somebody. I'm not even getting in government. I'm getting somebody within a legal organization, a civil rights organization, stepping to the front and launching some investigations into this. The Six of Swords, moving forward on it, gathering details, excuse me, gathering details and information. The Two of Cups, a cooperative effort between entities to gather information and launch investigations. So yes, I do think there will be investigations, but they take time. Seven of Cups, because there's such a concerted effort to hide, to hide the intel, to hide the information. And the Three of Swords, the grieving that happens, the doubt among many people that legit investigations will be held, people will be held accountable. Thinking, even spirits reminding me, as many of you know, the Nolan Wells case, right? Still, all these weeks later, months even. I don't even remember the date any longer. But still no arrests, right? But getting closer. More energy along those lines is what Spirit is saying. There is going to be something done about it. There will be a mounting, this feels like a civil rights organization, legal organization that comes together to handle this. But also what I'm seeing or what I'm feeling in the meantime is a coalescing, if you will, of people within communities, within cities, saying, don't go anywhere alone. Spirit, please show me, please. Let me not get bossy. Remember who's in charge. What's done in the meantime? Is there a concerted effort by people and groups and communities? Knight of Cups, looking out for each other, and the Hierophant, looking out for each other. There's a really strong faith-based element of this, with the Hierophant coming very often can represent churches and church leaders, or faith. It doesn't have to be for organized religion, but faith. And the Eight of Swords, the mounting fears over, and the Seven of Swords, the mounting fears over the deception that we can't necessarily, or people cannot necessarily just sit back and rely on the idea that these deaths will be investigated and justice will be served in the typical course of business. This is something where people are coming together. The Devil. This is a reminder of, for so many people, this just dredges up the horrors of the past and the history and the dark history of this country. So this is also the desire to not go after and prosecute in the current political environment, to prosecute the people who are responsible for these killings. I mean, at the end of the day, people are not hanging themselves, right? Six of Coins. It's a collaborative effort. It is communities coming together. It is people, like people watches, I just heard. King of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles. Yes, this is literally people, and the Eight of Wands. This is people communicating with one another, coming together with one another, doing neighborhood watches, patrols even, I'm seeing, if that's what it takes. And certainly the messaging around being very, very careful. I saw a couple of things that said even if you are in a situation where someone cries out for help or something that would lead you away, don't go, right? It's at that point. Don't necessarily believe what your eyes see and your ears hear, essentially. But I do see, and again, this is, it's on the people, by the people, for the people. This is people coming together, communities coming together, recognizing that the dangers are real. This is happening, it is spreading, and it may, uh, King of Wands, and it may likely continue to spread as anger builds and frustrations build, uh, with the economy, all the reasons. And so people are going to coalesce. Communities are going to start to come together. But I don't see this as just, Spirit is telling me it is not just blacks or Latinos looking out for one another, populations, immigrant even populations. This is a broad based effort to protect one another and recognizing that we can't sit back and wait for justice to be served. We're living in a very different time and we have to look out for one another. So that's the way that I think, at least in the short term, these issues are addressed. Do we find out the perpetrators of this? I am so sorry to say I don't see that happening anytime soon, because the mechanisms that would need to be put in place to give a concerted effort to go after them and to launch legitimate investigations, the will to do that, the political will to do that, the social will to do that among the powers that be, is not there right now. So it's incumbent upon people to start to take charge. And that's what we're going to see happen. That leads me to the third topic that I had today, talk about people taking charge and making it happen. Now we're understanding that thanks to the Middle East and all the unnecessary things that are happening there, JP Morgan and Forbes and some others are coming out with predicted shortages of food supplies in that'll probably start to really show up in 2027. Grain, wheat, corn, other things, because of fertilizer shortages as well as climate issues. We've got that super El Nino that's happening, right? So, not about, blaring the alarm and doomsday scenarios. This is about preparedness. And so one of the things that I'm getting is, and this is not even spirit, this is just from my research, people are recommending, and so I'm sharing with you all, if you haven't done so already, stocking up on dry goods, rice and beans and flour and all the things that, again, not hoarding, not panicking, just being prepared, just doing what's necessary to lessen the sense of going without, right? And also recognizing that prices and inflation are likely to increase because it's supply chain, it's supply and demand, right? So apparently this is going to come. But on the flip side of that, and I really want to thank the channel viewer. I don't want to, for privacy, I won't say the name on screen, but I got, someone said, hey, Afefe, what if you started to do something more positive, include more positive stories in your readings, in your tapings? I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So around food supply, there was a beautiful story that came out in Union, Michigan, a little tiny town. It says it's only got one stoplight in Union, Michigan. There's a pizza shop called Roscoe's Pizza, and they started this thing called a meal wall. A meal wall. And it happened because there was someone who called this Roscoe's Pizza asking if they threw away food at the end of the night. And one of the, I don't know if it was the owner or manager, and said basically that they were super busy when they got the call, and they kind of brushed the person off and were like, no, we make pizzas according to order. By order, we don't have extras at the end of the night. And the person was like, okay, and hung up. And afterward, when they were talking to the people, to the members of the restaurant, the workers, they said, hey, maybe that was somebody who was hungry. And they said, it hit them like, oh my God, and I blew them off, right? And so they went on Facebook and said, whoever that was, whatever that was about, if it was that, get back in touch with me. We'll deal with it. And it blew up. So this Roscoe's Pizza has started what they're calling a meal wall, where people can come in, donate an extra $10 on their order, and so people can get, those in need can be fed. And they said it's starting to spread around the country and even around the globe. That this Roscoe's Pizza has received donations from people around the globe. This deck does not like the cardstock. I love it. I'm working from the Good Karma deck today. I love that it's thick, but dang, it ain't. I do it the old-fashioned way. So here's what I'm going to look at in response to what is likely going to be as far as large corporate supermarket chains, etc., experiencing food shortages. Talk about neighbors helping neighbors. Are we going to see more co-op farms? Are we going to see more farmers markets start to flourish? Are we going to see more people taking care of people in regards to food security? That's what I'm going to look at. Also, keeping in mind the government's continued cutbacks with SNAP programs, etc. There's the world. I love it. I love it. Right at the bottom of the deck. This is global. This is going to be a global effort for people to take care of one another and make sure that they're fed. The Nine of Swords are the fears around the costs. The Queen of Swords comes out. There's going to be somebody who perhaps leads that. With the King of Swords, we're going to have, I don't know why, what's his name? Andres, the World Central Kitchen, or World Central Kitchen. Andres, I forget his name. Somebody will put it in the chat, or in the comments. There will be leaders who step up, who help organize these efforts. So it's not just like food pantries. Two of Wands, exactly. There are measures that will be taken, and there will be people who know how to organize this. So it's not even just like the mom and pop shops, like thank God for this Roscoe's Pizza doing, organizing this. It gets bigger, and the demand for it is going to grow. The Knight of Pentacles. I feel like this is more of a movement for Chariot, for the families moving ahead, not being as reliant upon major chains and supermarkets to furnish, or even major agricultural farms that do the supply chains. That there will be a different, I'm sorry if I was holding that up upside down, that there will be a really big and growing cooperative. And I'm hearing, as I say that, even like state to state. If a certain state tends to grow certain agricultural products, these organizers, that King of Swords and Queen of Swords that we saw, there may be a organizing like cooperative where states begin to find ways to trade, or restaurants begin to find ways to trade. Six of Swords. How do we move forward on this together and help one another? With the Seven of Coins, and I love in this particular image that's growing it out of the pot, right? There will also be farms. I'm hearing more urban farms that come as a result of this spirit. The Moon, Nine of Wands, and the Five of Coins. The lack of food, the continued pressure, and the Moon. So with everything else going on, it's not like everybody's going to go out and start buying seeds and shovels and getting dirt plots in their yards. It's not going to be a big wholesale thing. But over time, as it builds, as the recognition of exactly how this is going to play out. In other words, when people start going into the stores and seeing that the prices that are already high continue to skyrocket, that's the Five of Pentacles, feeling left out, feeling for those who are food insecure. Then we get the buildup of that energy, Nine of Wands. but then we get the moon that comes and people being stirred in their hearts. And moon is, as we know, is very emotional, and having a desire, King of Wands, having a desire, like it's going to light a fire under people. Seven of Cups. How do we address this issue? King of Cups. How do we address these issues? Page of Wands. And cooking. I love that. Cooking it up. So again, neighbor helping neighbor. But there will be an organized effort to say, listen, we're all in this together. North, south, east, west. We're all feeling the impacts and the effects of this. And to the extent that those who have more can donate and help those who have less, we're going to see more of that, which really, as we know, it ties into so many of these changes that we've been told are coming. Pluto in astrologically, Pluto in Aquarius, a lot of energy around this shift to a cooperative, a greater response, altruism, coming and not just relying on philanthropy in the traditional sense of, larger entities, donating and giving funding to nonprofits. But this is literally like community centers, neighborhood associations, like people really beginning to talk to one another and address those needs. So please, as we say, chin up and our shoulders back and coming from our hearts, because we're going to see that playing out more and more in a visceral way, rather than just responding to these events from a space of panic and hoarding and let me just go get mine and clear the shelves while there's still something on the shelves. I think there's going to be a very different approach to that, and people beginning to feel a certain obligation that it is not incumbent upon, well, it should be on the government to honor its responsibilities to the people, to fund programs, etc. But okay, in the meantime, while you all are doing all of that, people got to eat. People got to be safe on the streets, right? We got to look out for one another. We're going to see a whole lot more of that, you all. And I'm hearing and signing off, that attitude is what is going to influence government, when we're talking about a reshaped government, a changed government, a shift in government by the people, for the people, and the kinds of leaders that will speak to people's needs. It all ties in. It will eventually circle back to governmental entities and structures, but it's going to start in the community. It's going to start in communities across the country. All right. All right, y'all. That's what I got for today. I will talk to you again a little bit later, probably Wednesday. Be really, really safe out there, okay? We're going to be all right. We just got to look out for each other. Keep those chins up, push them, and those shoulders back, and come from your heart for yourself and for one another, right? And sky above us, always, and the earth beneath us, right? Mother Earth. Growing some crops if we need our own crops if we need to. All right, you all. I'll talk to you a little bit later. Bye.